And now to another instance of the Army cracking down on the release of confidential documents. The very latest on the trial of Private First Class Bradley Manning. At the end of the fourth week of trial, he stands accused of violating the Espionage Act, as well as giving aid and comfort to the enemy, among other charges. Here you can see exclusive footage obtained by RT of Manning leaving the courtroom at Fort Meade after a day of court. Manning allegedly leaked hundreds of thousands of classified government cables to WikiLeaks. RT's Liz Wall has been covering the trial from Fort Meade and brings us the latest.
Wrapping up the fourth week of Bradley Manning's trial, we have heard some of the most compelling testimony we have heard yet throughout the month that this trial has been going on today. Colonel David Miller took to the stand. He was the commander of Manning's unit in Iraq, and he spoke about the impact he believes these leaks had on the brigade. The prosecution asked what was his reaction when he found out about these leaks, and he said, quote, "I was stunned. The last thing I anticipated was an internal security breach from one of our own." The prosecution went on to ask him about the morale, how these leaks impacted the morale among the troops on the ground there in Iraq. And he said, quote, "My read of my staff, a funeral-like atmosphere fell over the crowd." Went on to describe the anger and frustration among soldiers there. And the brigade, I want to talk about what this brigade was tasked with doing. They were tasked with this transition, this drawdown of troops in Iraq and the transfer of responsibility to Iraqi security forces. The colonel said that the transition was going smoothly until this scandal, he says, just came out of the blue. And he spoke about what he believed Manning's leaks did to the trust among soldiers. He said, "Trust is the foundation of what we do." He said, quote, "I got you, you got me. That's how we roll," he says. That's how he describes this culture of trust among soldiers. And then he said the whole thing started to unravel. Now, this is the prosecution's witness. What they're trying to do is prove the fallout of these leaks and what effect they really had, what effect they had on the morale and trust of troops there. As we know, Manning admitted to leaking these documents, but the question now is how damaging they really were. So, yeah, very compelling testimony, animated, lively testimony, a little bit different from some of the testimony we hear in this trial. A lot of it very technical, sometimes dry and bland. So today he really, Colonel Miller, really brought some character during his testimony. Also notable today, the judge admitted as evidence 2 tweets believed to be sent from the whistleblowing website WikiLeaks. The first tweet requesting military addresses. The second tweet saying they have this video of an airstrike in Afghanistan. There's been a lot of time spent throughout this trial debating on whether or not these tweets can be authenticated. And today the judge ruled that that they can be admitted as evidence. It's important to note that this evidence is circumstantial evidence to show that WikiLeaks was out there trying to get a hold of this information. This all relates back to the most serious charge alleged by the prosecution, this charge of aiding the enemy, the prosecution trying to prove that Bradley Manning and Julian Assange were working together in getting this classified information onto the internet. Important to note also, as the defense points out, that there is no proof that Bradley Manning actually saw these tweets. Here in Fort Meade, Maryland, Liz Wall, RT.